Now that we've started to give yourself the proportions of a typical face, we're going to start to draw the eyes. So as you're drawing the eyes, the first thing I want to tell you is that an eye does not look like the rising sun. Okay? And we're going to use the proportions that we've gone ahead and shown on the first video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to draw the eye using the proportions that I started with. Notice the top of the eye is a little bit more curved. I have the tear duct, and then the bottom edge of the eyelid is a little bit straighter across. So it looks a little bit different than that typical football that you may have been taught, because we're going to go a little bit further in depth. If I am adding eyelashes, you are going to start on the top edge of the eye about halfway or maybe even 2/3 across the eye, and you're going to almost make like a check mark where they're coming down off of the line first and then swooping back up to add those eyelashes in. Again, eyelashes are optional. You also have a crease where your eyelid goes when you open your eye, and it mimics the same shape as your overall eye. So I'm going to add that right above my eye, and then I'm going to start to draw in the pupil and iris. The iris is the colored part of the eye, and the pupil is the black part. When you're drawing these, the pupil and the iris are what we call concentric, which means that the pupil is directly in the middle of the iris. I call it the donut effect. You want to be careful that you don't end up with an egg where it slides off to one side for your eye. So the other part that I want to let you know is that typically you don't see the whole entire pupil and iris. You usually see about 2/3. Usually the top eyelid covers a little bit of the top edge of that circle. So notice we do not see the whole entire pupil and iris. Otherwise it tends to make us look like we're scared or afraid or worried. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add the pupil in, that's the black part of the eye. And if I draw it a little bit bigger, it tends to make your person look a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more engaged with the audience, whoever they might be looking at. I'm also going to go ahead and add a highlight. Usually there's some type of highlight that comes from the lights in the room that you're located. And then the last part that I'm going to add is I'm going to add the edge of the actual eyeball. So your eye is part of an eyeball shape, which is a sphere. And notice how we might see just a little bit of the edge of that sphere that's not hidden by our skin. So I'm going to add that curve at both edges of the eye. And then after I've drawn the eye in, I'm going to also draw the eyebrow. So above the eye, usually in line with the inner edge of the eye, and then out on a diagonal from the outer edge, we typically see the eyebrow. Now, depending on who you are, sometimes your eyebrows are a little bit more curved, sometimes they go a little bit straighter across. It just depends on who you are. Once I'm done drawing one eye, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw the second eye. Notice how the tear duct is near the center again. I am going to draw the crease above the eye. I can draw eyelashes on the outer edge. And notice I'm looking at these two, and I think I drew this one a little bit bigger, so I'm going back and I'm going to revise that and fix it up. I'm going to add the pupil as well as the iris. And remember, I'm only showing about 2/3. I'm going to add that highlight. I'm going to add the inside and outside edge of the overall sphere of the eye. And then the very last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add the eyebrow. Notice I'm not worrying about drawing individual eyelashes at this, or eyebrow hairs at this point. I'm just trying to get the overall shape. Most of the time, if I'm trying to draw myself, I'm going ahead and I'm looking in a mirror. Don't forget, you can always use an eraser if you're drawing lightly, and then you can go back and erase and fix up if you make any mistakes.